This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 750, BuJo Pro, Thoughts on Adapting Bullet Journal to a Hyper-Connected World by Cal Newport of calnewport.com, and I'm Justin Malik, the guy that reads you blogs so that you don't have to find them and read them yourself. Happy Saturday. Today I have a post from Cal Newport of the Study Hacks blog talking about a popular trend called bullet journaling, which I started doing a while ago. I'll talk about that at the end. Before we get to it, thank you to Talkspace for sponsoring this episode. Talkspace is an online therapy company that makes therapy affordable, confidential, and convenient. They let you choose from over 1,500 licensed therapists. For a special offer just for you, come by Talkspace.com/old. That's Talkspace.com/OLD. For now, let's get right to it as we optimize your life. BuJo Pro, Thoughts on Adapting Bullet Journal to a Hyper-Connected World by Cal Newport of calnewport.com. Analog productivity. Bullet Journal, BuJo for short, is a personal productivity system invented by a product designer named Ryder Carroll. You can find a detailed introduction to BuJo on its official website, but I can provide you the short summary here. The system lives entirely within an old-fashioned paper notebook. Each day you dedicate a page of the notebook to a daily log in which you create a bulleted list of tasks and events. As the day unfolds, you use shorthand marks to indicate a task is complete or needs to be migrated to a different day. You can also take brief notes about the day and, if needed, hijack multiple pages for more extensive musing. The next daily log can live on the next available page. This idea that you format notebook pages on demand instead of in advance is fundamental to BuJo. There are some standard pages most BuJo notebooks include. In addition to the daily log entries, an index at the front of the notebook is used to keep track of how the pages are being used. You grow the index as you fill the notebook. Each month also gets its own monthly overview and task list that are used to inform how you schedule individual days, and so on. A good way to think about BuJo is basically a less rigid version of the Franklin planner system. BuJo for the overloaded. A lot of readers have asked me about BuJo, so I thought I would share some thoughts. First, I want to emphasize what I really like about the system. Its largely unstructured use of a blank notebook is a brilliant example of low-friction, freestyle productivity. In my experience, these types of systems are much more likely to persist than those that require more involved constraints. I also love BuJo's embrace of paper as a fantastically flexible technology. A typical notebook in this system uses many different formats, conventions, and notations, many of which might be custom to the individual user and change rapidly over time. This would be prohibitively difficult to implement in a digital tool. Also, notebooks don't need batteries. My main concern, however, is that this system, as traditionally deployed, cannot keep up with the complexity and volume of demands that define many modern knowledge work jobs, where the sheer volume of tasks you must juggle or calendar events in a typical week might overwhelm any attempt to exist entirely within a world of concise and neatly transcribed notebook pages. With this in mind, I've been brainstorming recently about how one might upgrade the rules of BuJo to better handle these unique demands while still keeping the features I really like about the original framework, creating, for lack of a better term, a BuJo Pro system. Here's some of the ideas I had about shifting from BuJo to some notion of BuJo Pro. Number 1, introduce weekly plans. In BuJo, you create a list of tasks and key events for the current month, and then use these pages to inform the plans on each daily log page. In BuJo Pro, you should also put aside a page for a weekly plan at the beginning of each week. Use this plan to confront what you've already scheduled for the week and what you want to do with the remaining free time. It's common for weekly plans to change. When this occurs, update the plan. If the changes are significant, create a new weekly plan on the next available page. This new plan can cover the days that remain in the week. Number 2, time block daily plans. In BuJo, each day is driven by a daily log page that contains a list of tasks and events. As longtime readers know, I am not a fan of using lists to dictate your behavior. It's much more effective to block out the hours of your day and assign them to specific efforts. This time blocking strategy provides a much more realistic assessment of how much time you really have free and allows you more control in optimizing your use of this time. This doesn't mean, of course, that every waking minute must be scheduled. Effective time blockers tend to block out all hours during the workday and then fall back to a more informal plan for their hours outside work. Number 3, maintain a deep work tally. Once you're time blocking every day, it's easy to use BuJo style shorthand to track deep work hours. I recommend circling each hour in your daily plan during which you maintained unbroken concentration on a demanding task. When summarizing your week or month, it's then easy to quickly tabulate how many of your work hours were spent in a state of depth, a compelling scoreboard that helps ensure you're producing value and not just reacting to demands. Number 4, augment the notebook with a calendar and master task list. The beauty of BuJo is that it exists within a single self-contained notebook. This feature, however, can also be a fatal flaw. Many knowledge workers unavoidably fragment their week with dozens of shifting appointments and meetings. There's no way to manage this easily in a paper notebook. It's simply much more effective to use a digital calendar. Similarly, as David Allen famously argues, many modern professionals must keep track of hundreds of professional tasks. These cannot effectively exist in a paper notebook on a monthly task list. It's simply more effective to maintain a digital list. In BuJo Pro, therefore, you should reference a digital calendar and master task list each week when creating your weekly plan. As your week unfolds, you can then mainly live within your analog notebook. Number 5, integrate email. Probably the biggest omission from BuJo in the professional setting is that it ignores the unfortunate reality that most knowledge workers drive their workday by sending and receiving emails. There must be, therefore, a considerate process for interfacing between an email inbox and paper notebook. In BuJo Pro, the digital calendar and master task list can mediate between these two worlds. That is, as you check your inbox, you can add new events or deadlines to your calendar and new tasks to your master task list. Because you check your calendar and master list during the weekly planning process, these updates will integrate into your paper scheduling as needed. If something pops up in your inbox that impacts the current week, you can directly modify the current weekly and/or daily log as needed to integrate the change. Caveat emptor: I haven't field tested BuJo Pro. These ideas are merely speculation on how one might maintain all the things I love about the self-contained analog simplicity of BuJo, while successfully tackling the annoying challenges unique to our current hyper-connected world. You just listened to the post titled BuJo Pro, Thoughts on Adapting Bullet Journal to a Hyper-Connected World by Cal Newport of calnewport.com. I tried bullet journaling myself. I'll share my thoughts, but first, big thanks to my sponsor for today's episode, Talkspace. Talkspace is the online therapy company that makes it easy to connect with an experienced and licensed therapist. They have over 1,500 of them, who you can pick based on your preferences and for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy. You can send your therapist text, audio, or video messages, or even do a live video chat. It's up to you, which I love. And Talkspace therapists are fully licensed and go through a rigorous screening process in addition to thousands of hours of supervised professional training. So to get matched with your perfect therapist, come on over to Talkspace.com/old. As a special offer just for you, you can use the code OLD to get $30 off your first month, all while showing your support for this podcast. That's the code OLD and Talkspace.com/OLD. Talkspace, therapy for how we live today. So I really like the idea of bullet journaling, which really is basically just writing down what you need to do. But there are different sheets and symbols with bullet journaling that makes it a little easier to track specific things. But my problem was that every day was pretty much the same tasks, unless there were things that I was putting off. And in that case, I still wouldn't do them. They just get pushed to the next day. So I found myself writing a lot and still pushing those other tasks that I don't really want to do. They get pushed out every day, so productivity-wise, I wasn't doing more. I was just writing it down. But maybe your experience will be different, or maybe it is different if you're already using something like a bullet journal. I actually really like Cal Newport's approach. I think the idea of time blocking would solve this for me, like he mentioned, but also that master task list. I think that's a perfect idea for me. But in any case, it can definitely help. It all depends on the person. Implementing a habit tracker can also be a good way to motivate yourself to do something, and that's also part of a bullet journal. But again, it's going to depend on the person. For me, just simply writing the tasks down every day didn't make much of a difference, and it ended up taking more time than it did to help me get things done. But again, this Bullet Journal Pro system that Cal Newport suggests might work. You might want to give it a shot. And that will do it for today. Hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com, that's OLDpodcast.com, for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.